You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hey, mamas. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Mama Work It podcast. I am so glad you're here. My name is Marissa Lonick. I am the founder of Mama Work It and your host. In case you're new in town, Mama Work It is an organization dedicated to supporting the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. And I myself am a working mama of 4 kiddos. So today, I know you're going to love our topic. I love our topic. I can't wait to dive into our topic. And we have an amazing guest who's going to talk to us about this topic. It is all about vacations for moms. Yes, please. So our guest today is Jillian McCloskey. She is the founder and visionary behind momcations.co, a travel agency dedicated exclusively to creating unforgettable vacation experiences for moms. After feeling burnt out and rediscovering herself on a solo trip, Jillian was inspired to help other moms experience the same transformative power of the getaway. With over 17 countries, 4 continents, and 25 U.S. states under her belt, she's combined her love of travel and meticulous planning skills to remove the barriers that often prevent moms from taking the well-deserved breaks they need. Jillian understands that motherhood, while a fulfilling journey, often leaves little room for self-care and personal growth. That's why she's on a mission to help moms reconnect with their identities outside of their roles as caregivers. Through momcations.co, she offers thoughtfully curated solo, small group, and large group trips tailored to meet moms' unique desires. Whether that's relaxing at a luxury spa, adventuring through a different culture, or making lifelong friends on a group cruise. This all sounds like a dream. Jillian, I can't wait to dive into this conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Marissa.
All right, well, let's dive in. I always love to know, just tell us more about your background, your journey, and kind of what inspired you to start Momcations. I know it was that solo trip, but I know there's more to this story,
Yes.
So fill us in.
Well, what happened was I am a wife and a mother. I have 2 daughters who are now 11 and 12. But at the time that I was at my peak of my burnout, they were 4 and 5. And I was doing all the things, working full time, trying to be the Pinterest perfect mom with the bento box lunches. I was the room parent for both of their classrooms and themed parties. And I was also involved in a lot of different activities and organizations, both with my kids and also through our town. And I was just trying to do it all. And I just felt like a hamster going and going and going. And I just never shut down. And I got to the point where even though I took a vacation yearly with my family, I was still mom. I was still taking care of packing and organizing and planning and keeping the kids on their schedules and not missing nap time or letting them stay up too late or figuring out, is there actually something here that they'll eat and all those kind of things. So I never actually got to shut down. And then one day I just happened to scroll through Facebook and there was an ad for a flight to Iceland that was $397. And I looked at my husband, I'm like, I have to buy this. And he's like, you want to go to Iceland? I'm like, it's been on my bucket list for years. I need to go. So I jokingly sent it to my best friend who lives a couple states away. And she's also in the same lifestyle as I am. And I was like, ha, you want to join me? And she goes, when are we going? And within 24 hours, we had the whole thing organized, booked, planned, and we went. And it was the first time we went on a vacation without our husbands, without our kids, and we got to just be ourselves again and remember what we were like 20 years ago when we were fun and free and could sleep in or eat whatever we wanted. We sat down at a restaurant, and if we found something we ate, awesome. We didn't have to worry about 4 or 6 other people. So we took that trip, and it was 4 days, and it was the best 4 days. And I came home and I remembered who I was before I was a mom. And because I got that 4-day break, I came home a better mom. I was like, okay, I can do this again. I can do all the things and all the activities because I had that break, that mental break more than anything than just the physical break made the world a difference. And then I said to myself, I'm like, I am doing this every year. I am making sure I carve out time every single year for me to take this momcation.
Wow. I got chills when you were telling that story because it sounds like that trip was healing on so many levels.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, like healing from the sense of like you're burnt out, right?
Yeah.
Just in your day-to-day grind, but also fulfilling from a sense of like this was on your bucket list and you'd always
Yeah.
wanted to do it. And you got to do it with your best friend. How
Mm-hmm.
incredible is that? So much connection there. I love that so much. So this was years ago.
This was actually, funny enough, she sent me a text message of a memory that popped up on her phone, and it was 7 years ago this week.
Okay, 7 years ago. So tell us just offhand, where else have you gone on your momcations
So
since
then, I've gone yearly, sometimes with her, sometimes with other friends, and sometimes completely on my own. So we have done, well, Iceland was the first one. We've done local ones to us because we're on the East Coast. We've done Mystic, Connecticut. We did Ithaca in New York. I've also done solo ones to Toronto, and I did one down to Savannah. And then me and her plan an epic one every 5 years. We made that deal with ourselves. After Iceland, we're like, every 5 years, we're going to go on an epic one. And our other epic one that we took was actually Peru. And it was 9 days, which was really long for us, but we took 5 years to plan it out. And it was an epic trip that we knew we would never forget. And now we're in the process of deciding where we're going to go 5 years from now.
Wow, love that. I love that. And such a good mix, right? A mix of these really epic, kind of far-fetched, bigger ideas versus like, in your own backyard of Mystic, Connecticut or Ithaca, New York. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Mystic, Connecticut one was one of our favorite ones because she jumped on the train, I jumped on the train, and another friend of ours jumped on the train. We all met. We had 4 days there. It was like being teenagers all over again. We played board games. We listened to old 90s music. It was fantastic.
A dream. I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. So I'm curious. I don't know. Do people use kind of like travel agents and travel agencies anymore? Like, is this a thing? Because this is essentially what you're doing for moms, right?
Correct. So yes, there are online booking agencies like Expedia and Travelocity and all of them. The difference is one, those have always been there and moms are still not booking vacations for themselves. They need to hear from another mom that it is okay to do this. And that's one of the major things of the reasons why I started Momcations was because for years, women that I knew would see my posts on Facebook or Instagram and be like, oh my God, I wish I could do that. And I'm like, then do it. And they're like, oh, but I've got this, or I can't leave my husband, or the kids have this activity and that activity. And it's like, they need that permission to say, it is okay to put yourself first. It is okay to take this time, whether it be 2 days, 4 days, 6 days, and realize you are the number one priority. This is your life. Like, yes, you are their mom and their wife and their spouse and what have you, but this is your life and you need to live it. So that's one of the biggest things with women that have reached out to me to book their momcations. It's almost therapeutic because they spend longer not even picking where they want to go for vacation, longer telling me all the reasons why they don't think they deserve it, and me just more or less saying, yes, you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say there's like a motivational coach element to what you do because you have to get past that permission stage, and moms are guilty of that. We're a hard market to sell to, Jillian. So
It is
you really
definitely.
have your work cut out for
It
you.
does. And then if you meet the woman or group of women that are like, okay, I deserve this and I want to go, most of them are too busy or too burnt out to take on one more thing. They can't take on the burden of figuring out, okay, where am I going to go? When's the best time to go? Who has the best deals? All the different options. Or even like one woman sent me a message and she's like, oh, I was thinking about this. And I'm like, you do not want to take that flight. Yes, it may be $100 cheaper, but you are going to be sweating as you run from one end of that airport to the other to try to make a connection in 35 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's not a way to relax on a vacation.
Right.
And she's like, I never would have thought of that.
Absolutely. And I'll be 100% transparent with you. I am the planner here at home, which I think a lot of moms are. We wear that hat. We plan the schedules. We, do a lot of sort of the household management, even at work too, right? Like this is part of my day to day, but I don't like planning vacations. And it's not because I don't like vacations. I love vacations, but I almost want that to be part of the vacation for me, is like, give me the break, plan it all, make it happen. And I just want to show up.
And that's kind of one of the things that I've always actually enjoyed. I love planning vacation. And I've planned so many over the years, both with momcations I have taken or family vacations or even group vacations with friends over the years. And for years, people have told me, they're like, you really should be in the travel industry. You thrive at this and you're so good at it. And you find all these weird tips and tricks and you throw in fun facts and everything you can. And I'm like, because I enjoy it. I'm like, I also enjoy taking vacations as well, but I do actually enjoy planning them. And that's the difference where if you're dealing with a online agency or a local agency, a lot of times you don't get that, or a lot of them don't understand and they're trying to throw you on this epic vacation that is too long to go away as a mom, or during the wrong time of year, because you've got to take into account of kids' schedules and schools and sports and all the different things. And there's so many factors that me being a mom will think of that before I say, hey, maybe you don't want to go that time.
Yeah. No, it's like having a built-in bestie who is in the same season as you, who loves to do this. So she just like raises her hand in the group and says, I'll plan the vacation, right? You just, here's the check you write and show up on this day. And honestly, I think we could all use a friend like that in our friend groups. And now we can reach out to you via Momcations.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. So good. So why do you think taking a momcation should be like a personal goal for moms, either on an annual basis or like, how frequently even should it be?
So I personally think you should do annually. Okay. But if you can do more, awesome. I try to fit in a couple a year, but let me preface this with, this is not my only job. I also still have a full-time big girl job that I work with my husband. And as much as I love him, sometimes I need a break from him. And also my kids. And I love them as well very much. But I try to take a couple a year. I may take 2 days here, 2 days there, 2 days there, rather than a big long one or that kind of idea. But I look at it as, it is my turn to take a pause. Because even though I may say, oh, but there's nothing on this book this weekend and I can relax at home. As soon as you're at home, you're looking, oh, I should clean this, or I should do that, or this project's never been finished, or let me answer these emails. And you don't actually 100% shut down. If you're in a completely different location, out of sight, out of mind.
So true. So true. If you give me a day where we have nothing on the schedule, I will find something to do.
Yes.
It's almost uncomfortable sometimes to be at home and not do anything.
Your kids will find something, because my 2 girls now will look at the calendar and they'll be like, there's nothing on this day. How about we go do this?
Yes.
And I'm like,
can you take me to Starbucks?
I'm like, no, that was supposed to be our empty day of doing absolutely nothing. And they're like, oh, can we go to here? Can we go shopping? And I'm like, no.
Well, and let's get real. You still got to feed everyone and clean the kitchen 3 times a day.
Yes. That is the
Empty
hardest
the
part of
dishwasher, fold the
adulthood.
laundry, like all the
Hmm.
things. Yeah, for sure. And somehow I've noticed, Jillian, anytime I travel out of this house alone, like where my family stays here, the laundry still gets done.
Well, so that was one of the hard things I had the very first time I took a momcation was the worry of, oh my God, are they going to be able to handle this? Because I left outfits out for every single day I was going to be gone. I had pre-made dinners and had them in the fridge with post-it notes of put it in the oven at this temperature for this long. I had pages for every day with the schedule of who need to be what, where, and when. And this was back when they were little and there wasn't the activities they have now. And it was just, I tried to control everything, hoping it would work fine. Now, did my husband follow any of that? No. They had takeout every night. They wore whatever they wanted to wear. The house was relatively clean-ish, but you know what? It was like a vacation for them. They thought it was a great party. I also came home and had dinner made for 4 days because it was already in the fridge. So I was like, oh, here we go. It was like my future self was preparing for this.
For
So
your
it's
vacation after the vacation.
exactly, but it is hard. Now, 7 years later, we have a routine and my family knows how this works. And I'm like, my thing's in the date. This is when I'm leaving. This is when I'm going to be back. This is what you need to do. Here's everything in the Google Calendar. I'm like, I'll see you. I'll send you 2 proof of life text messages. And unless there is an emergency, don't contact me. So like last year I went on a cruise with a friend of mine and it was her first ever momcation, which was amazing to watch someone do it for the first time ever. And she was FaceTiming her family like crazy and she was all nervous. And then by like day 2 of being away, she's like, okay, I see why you do this. And then by day 4, she's like, you haven't called your family once. And I'm like, oh no, I sent them proof of life. I do a selfie and I'm like, I'm still alive. And that's it. And unless there is an emergency, they don't contact me. And it works
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of my solo trips to date have been work related, I would
Mm-hmm.
say, for the most part, but they still feel like a piece of the momcation in a
Oh,
way.
yeah.
I mean, they are work related, but they feel like they're hitting some of the marks, right? And I can remember my first one. My twins, they're my oldest kids, were 6 months old. Hardest trip I've ever taken.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I did what your friend did. I was FaceTiming multiple times a day. I did all the things like the prep, all the stuff. And now I find when I travel, I'm way more laid back about the
Yeah.
trip. I still do prep. I still obviously do. Yeah, I love your proof of life. I love how you call it that. But I think practice makes progress. And
Oh,
so
$100%.
the more you're able to, do that. And maybe your first one's just a one nighter, you
Yeah. And
know?
that's the thing. Well, I also think one night is never long enough. You need at
Okay.
least 48 hours. And
Okay.
my thinking is that a 24-hour trip, even to like a hotel locally, by the time you get there and do your 3 p.m. check-in, you only have
True.
so long before you have to check out again. You don't actually get a full break. So you need
Right.
at least 48 hours, even if it's somewhere local. Do yourself that favor. But it
That's a
is
good
true.
point.
My first time and even my second time, and probably even my third time, I did try to control, or I would call every day and check in. But also at the time, my girls were younger. And now I've got teenagers, which is a whole different ball game.
Very different.
Exactly. But it, I had to build up to longer trips and also both them and me feeling comfortable enough to be away and knowing the house will still be standing, everyone will still be alive. What will get done will get done. And if not, we'll figure it out when I get home.
Right. Right. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about kind of the elephant in the room that maybe people listening might be thinking to themselves right now. Like, what about the budget? What would you say to a mom listening who's like, yeah, obviously this sounds amazing, but like, I can't afford that? Or like,
Yeah.
what do I do?
So there's a couple of different options. One, whenever I plan a momcation, I take budget completely into account. And I always, if they're like, well, I don't know what my budget is, I try to give them a couple of different options of 1, 2, and 3 tiers so they can kind of see for themselves. Most vacation packages and cruises do offer payment plans up to 18 months after you travel. A lot of people don't realize that because they're always looking at online. But if you book with an agent, that's a completely different option. I personally set money aside every week. That is something I have done for years because then that's my money, guilt-free, that I can use to take my trip. I don't feel like I'm taking from the family's money. It is my money. And I might put like $25 a week. If some weeks I've got a little extra, I'll throw that in there. But then I know it every year. I have this as my fun money I can kind of play with.
Mm-hmm.
I also personally believe that it's like the same way as you get your oil changed in the car. You pay for that service to keep your car running optimally.
Yeah.
Well, then this is the same idea to keep you as a mom running at your best.
So good. Yeah. I was listening to this financial podcast recently, and you know how all the experts out there when it comes to like money management will tell you like you need to have a savings account that covers like 6 months of life just in case, or like for unexpected things. They said, and this is so smart and it kind of goes hand in hand with what you're doing, is you also need a separate account called, I think they called it a sinking fund. And it's sort of like all the things that you are expecting. Like every year, Christmas is on December 25th.
Yes.
You expect that you are going to spend money on gifts leading up to Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, right? Or it's Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you celebrate. It could be like every year, you know, you have to do some sort of maintenance on your car, like you mentioned, right? So like that is money that would be in this fund. Your money for your momcation, it could be like this concrete expectation that every year you invest in. And so you have this separate account. So maybe it's dedicated to like momcation only. Maybe it's sort of like they called it the sinking fund. I don't love that term if we're talking about vacation or cruises, actually. But you know, you get what I'm saying, right? It's like an expected expense, not an unexpected. You expect that it's going to happen. And so you think ahead. Even like your hair budget, honestly, like I don't get my hair done every month. It's every 3 months typically. But damn, that's a big bill when I go. And so like I have to expect that every 3 months I'm going to spend X amount of money at the hair salon and just know in advance, right?
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. Because I know for years, friends of mine used to talk about, oh, they have those Christmas clubs where they put money away every paycheck and then they know they have it there. And same kind of idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And really just treating it like a necessity, like you said, like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like there are a lot of things I think societally that we view as being sort of these luxurious, lavish things.
Oh, yeah.
And in other places, it's totally like normal, right? Like I know you're European, as am I. And in Europe, very normal that you have, you know, up to like 6 weeks vacation a year, right?
Do you know what I found very interesting on the same idea? I heard a woman talk years ago about how she was actually on a mission trip somewhere in Africa. And she was talking to the woman there and she was trying to ask her how she dealt with mom guilt. And those women could not understand the concept of mom guilt. And it's just because to them, they did what they had to do for themselves, their family, their village, everything else. And you just did and moved on. She goes, there's no guilt here.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting to hear both society and what we take in from things like social media and all of that, how we put these stigmas on ourselves like, oh, I'm not worth this, or I should feel guilty for this, or this is too much of a luxury. I can't do this.
Right. 100%. Yeah. Well, can you give us, before we move into our lightning round, can you give us like a sneak peek of one of your upcoming trips or types of experiences coming up in Momcations?
So Currently, right now, I am working on a group cruise. I'm working with another woman as well who has a nonprofit group, but we're both taking parts in this. And it is the More Than Just a Mom group cruise. And
Ooh.
I specifically picked this one before I named it, but it leaves just after Mother's Day this coming May. And I thought it was the perfect date when I saw it pop up because I was like, do you know what? On Mother's Day, you do the brunch and you get the cards and you get the little tchotchkes. But what you really want is a break from being a mom. That's what you really want for Mother's Day. And I saw this one pop up and it was a 4-night cruise and you can leave on the Wednesday, you're home Sunday, can be back to work on Monday. And it was just enough of a break that you can sit there and remember who you were and be more than just a mom. And I liked it because they had a champagne send off. They have themed nights, and it was like being in my 20s again and going out dancing and having fun, but being in a safe location, and then just walking down to my room and being able to sleep in the next morning because I didn't have to get up with my kids. And the food was incredible, which I'm a big foodie. But the other thing is that it's an adults only cruise.
I
So
was going to
there's
say, like, is this only moms or adults
Yeah,
only?
it's technically an adults only cruise and anyone can go on it, but we're just doing like a group for ourselves that are also
Gotcha.
going on it. So it's not just moms on this cruise. There are other people on the cruise, but our group will be there and we're going to do gift bags for them and we're going to do like a group dinner, but you'll also just be able to do whatever you want on the cruise because this is your momcation as well. But then we'll have little things for our whole group of women that are going with us. And I loved the fact that this cruise line being adults only, you didn't have to listen to someone else's kid saying, hey, mom, look at me, mom, cannonball, mom. And you're like, because even when you get a break and someone else's kids is needling their mother, it's irritating you because we're all the same. We hear the word mom and we turn.
Yeah. It's like triggering, or it's making you miss your family, or making you feel guilty that your family's not there, or whatever.
Correct. And it's
Hmm.
just the right amount of time to get away. I actually already did a test run on this cruise because I was like, I don't like selling things that I haven't done.
Yes. You're
So
like, let me just try this out. Let me take one for the team. Let me make sure it's okay.
exactly. And this was actually the trip that I took a friend of mine for her first ever momcation. And it was great because we both left Wednesday morning. We got our kids off to school. We took the flight down to Miami, got on the boat by 4:00. We were at the champagne send off at 5:30. We were living our best life. The next morning, we both slept in till 9:00. It was fantastic. We had a couple of days away. It stops in Key West and then the Bahamas. And you also have the full day at sea. And then we came home Sunday night. I was home, gave my kids a kiss when they were going to bed, and then got up for work on Monday.
Love it. Love it. More Than a Mom cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Amazing. All right. Well, we are going to spend the last few minutes of our episode diving into some random, just for fun questions, just so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more personally. Are you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay. This is a good one for you, Jillian. If you could go on vacation tomorrow anywhere in the world, where would it be and why?
This is actually harder than you think because my vacation bucket list is massive, and I know it's massive. But one of the ones that I know I would love to go on, and I've thought about it for years, is actually to Thailand.
I've been there.
Have you? Oh, I was supposed to go for my 40th, but then life got in the way, and then they actually had shut down for a little while where they weren't letting tourists in and everything. So, but between all the temples and the cultures, and then I want to go to the elephant preserve, and then I want to sit on the beaches. There's so much there, but it would definitely be a momcation because I know none of my family would survive there on the food, and I would be.
Well, we will have to chat offline. That is where we honeymooned, my husband and I. And we were just talking the other day and saying we're married 15 years. and we said, you know what, when we hit 25, we should go back. That should be
yeah.
our celebratory trip at 25 years of marriage. So yeah, we'll definitely, it's been a while since I've been there, but it holds such a special place in my heart. And I think you would
and
love
you know,
it.
every person that I've talked to that has gone has said the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's really special. All right. What book are you reading right now?
So right now I read a lot, and I read a lot of books, and I will read multiples at one time because I'll have my Kindle going and a paper book and an audiobook, and I'm listening to Onyx Storm, and I keep pausing it because I don't want it to end and I don't want it to break my heart because I've been waiting for this book to come out. It's the third book in the Fourth Wing series.
Oh, gotcha.
But I'm physically reading a book called Boss Up, and it was written by Lindsay Tague Moreau, I think is her name. But it's all about business owners that are moms and like tips and tricks on how to navigate a lot of the things that makes it a little, sometimes slightly more difficult because you are a mom and you have to wear both hats.
Yeah. It's different. It's different juggling those two worlds. Yep. All right. Last question. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation. Because if I could get to a place, like if I knew I had 48 hours and I could just be there, I could knock a whole lot of my bucket list off. But a lot of times there's places I want to go and it's a long flight to get there. So you have to plan accordingly. So that would be definitely my go-to superpower.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. All right, Jillian, we're just about ready to wrap up today's episode. But before we do, can you please tell our listeners where they can find you and learn more about Momcations?
Yes. So you could go to my website, momcation.co, and you have all the information there. You can sign up for my newsletter that's got a lot of information and find things there to connect with me. I am 99% of the time on Instagram because it's the platform I can handle the best. And rather than trying to spread myself thin over a whole lot of platforms, I just picked one and that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah. And that's where moms hang out. Let's get real.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Jillian, thank you so much for being a guest, for sharing all this good stuff about vacations for moms. I'm inspired. I'm ready to sign myself up for the More Than a Mom cruise or book my next momcation. I'm
You're
well
more
overdue.
than welcome to join us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.